Thank you. Okay. So first item of business is the approval of the previous minutes from June 12th. I know we had a possible amendment. Kelly, do you want to, or do we want to pull that up again? Do we still want that amendment, Dick? Do we still want to talk about that?
It was just a small minor thing. I put it through. There was some discussion that was needed. I
Yeah.
felt it was, and so
Yeah.
I don't have it in front of me, but Kelly, you had it. I think I sent it to you, Christy, and
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe Kermit, but I still made the amendment or the choice, though we never had a meeting to discuss it, so you can decide if you want to deal with it or not.
Yep. No, I think it was a proposed amendment, so we should vote on it as a committee. Kelly, are you able to find that? I can find it too. It was just a slight tweak in language for clarification.
Yep, I'm looking for it right now. I did not have it pulled up. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, that's okay. Oh, Dick, you're on mute. I see you talking, but you're on mute.
Yeah, the way the motion was set up was made it sound like that I had come up with this list. And I said, I made a motion. I wanted to correct it, saying that based on the deliberations of the committee, and I came up with some wording for it. And I just wanted to get it in the record that it wasn't me that made all this list of things, that it was a group discussion from the committee. And I just felt that was appropriate. So
okay, do you want me to read it back? Your proposed amendment? So you can see on the screen, it shows at the top of your screen, the committee recommendations and the motion, Lathrop motion to recommend, blah, blah, blah. So Dick is proposing that the minutes be changed to read, Lathrop motion to recommend to Common Council that the Lake Street boat launch be a non-motorized ADA accessible boat launch site with these features discussed and approved by the Sustainability Committee. And then everything else stays the same.
So do we have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Excuse me. This is Dean. One more issue that I think Tony Browse could bring up, but on page 2 of the minutes, it's a paragraph that starts, Browse stated in 2015, MG&E did away with the retail solar payments. In the last sentences, they're essentially telling their fair share. And there it is. I think that was, I don't think Tony would characterize it as the producers paying their fair share. I think that was, if anything, a little bit sarcastic. I think they're, would you say that, Tony? It just seems like.
Yeah, I mean, it would be better to, it'd be better probably to strike the whole sentence, but the meaning of it was that their idea of the fair share is what they're asking for, which may not be fair.
Right.
You could just strike that sentence.
Okay, strike the sentence. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any other proposed amendments? No? Okay. Okay, so with the amendment Dick proposed and also striking this sentence out, do we have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I move to approve the minutes as amended.
Okay. So
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Okay, all in favor of the minutes as amended?
Aye.
Aye. Fabulous. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so moving on to public comments. Do we have any public comments this evening? Kevin.
Hi. I just noticed that the sustainable purchasing policy is on the agenda for tonight. And when it is discussed, could somebody please state to what degree it's going to be used for the 2024 budget cycle, which has already begun? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Kevin. Any other public comments this evening? None now. Kevin, if you don't mind lowering your hand, that'd be great. No rush. But we could move on to given no other public comments tonight that I'm seeing, let's move on to Kelly's staff report. Very thorough report tonight. What questions do we have for Kelly?
I'll just ask a question about the EV charging infrastructure. And I think it may be answered somewhere in the text, but I was seeing there was only mention of 2 level 2 chargers total and 1 level 3. And it didn't say anything about the level 3 at the Municipal Operations Center, which seemed like that would be important in the time frame that's being discussed. So I'm just wondering whether that was implied somewhere in the plans that are being developed by the consultant, or whether that's something worth ensuring is happening.
Yeah, Rainmaker was charged with designing and really preparing the bid documents to put 1 level 2 charger at the Terrace Avenue parking lot, the Municipal Operations Building, and the police station. Just to begin, that would be a bid pack that would go out, and that would be completed this year. And then simultaneously to that, they are doing a design and exploring what each building will need by way of upgrades to the electrical systems for build out over the next 5 to 10 years. And so in this case, there's going to be more back and forth with the staff. They've come up with an initial count of how many stations you would need at each of those 3 sites. And they're going to definitely look into putting a level 3 charger at the police station. I'm not sure if staff will decide that they need a level 3 early on at the mock, because level 3 is the really fast charging, like 15 minutes to an hour, and level 2 would be more like 6 to 8 hours for full charges. So,
Right.
and level 3 requires its own, it's kind of its own standalone thing. They're very, very expensive, and they need different types of power inputs. So it's a big deal to get one of those. And it's not that they wouldn't look at doing that. It's just they want to make sure that you really need a level 3 if you're gonna really if you need it. So they are exploring all those things. I don't think they have any definites at this point, except for sure 1 level 2 at each of those 3 sites. And then they'll look at building out where the next batch will go. Right now we have $100,000 to spend on both design engineering and the initial level 2 chargers. And then we've put in the budget money for next year to do a bigger build out. But we really need to know first what kind of building upgrades we need to make at each of those places to support any future charging. So that's what Rainmaker's looking at right now and analyzing, and they have to work with MGE, because MGE has to do sort of half of it from their end, and then the city does half of it from our end to connect to the power.
Right. Okay, so it's not limited to just those 3. I mean, because it said in the next 5 to 10 years, and then it said they're only exploring 1 level 3, and it seemed like that was unduly restricted given the potential needs that we're hoping will develop if we really transition in the next 5 to 10 years to a more thoroughly electrified fleet.
Yeah, nothing's restricted. They're looking at any and all possibilities. And that might change over the next 3 months as they talk to MGE. MGE may say you need this, in this building if you want to do these 10 chargers over the next 10 years. And maybe, you know, in maybe another 2 or 3 years, the charging infrastructure will have changed. So we're probably not going to do it all at once. We'll probably do it in batches for budget reasons and technology reasons. But there's no limitation on any of this. But right now they are looking at level 2 chargers in these 3 spots and level 3 at the police station. Probably they would put a level 3 at the police station before anywhere else, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't put a level 3 ever at the mock building. And maybe they'll decide they really want one there. So I think it's still going to be a lot of back and forth. I should really write the EV charging infrastructure updates as anything goes. We're looking at everything. There's no limitations. Except we will put the level 2 in those those 3 sites just to get going, because we already have an EV car right now.
It would be nice if they maybe were given the task of, here's a rapid paced plan, a 5-year to get to where you want to be, a 10-year to get to where you want to be, or, you know, something that gave you the idea of what the cost would be of going at different speeds to reach the point. If they just come up with one plan with one span of time, it's going to be hard to make choices.
Yeah, I mean, from what I'm hearing from them, they think technologies and batteries are going to change so significantly that putting all your eggs in one basket to do everything and right away may not be the most advantageous, but we'll see. Like I don't have engineering background, so I am kind of leaving this up to Raymaker and the operations staff.
Makes sense. Okay, thank you. Other questions for Kelly? Oh, Laura, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question on number 9, resilient landscapes. So you talked about the Clean Lakes Alliance and stuff, and then at the very end you talk about how you're going to meet with them so we can launch a resilient landscape initiative in the spring that aligns with the goals and renew the Blue Compact. I don't know the Renew the Blue Compact. Is that something that happened before I came on the committee? Could you tell me a little bit what that is?
Yeah, that's a third iteration of a regional plan for lake health, with 2 main goals: to reduce phosphorus loads in the lake, which would thereby help with reducing algae blooms, and also to make the beaches cleaner and make sure that there's fewer E. coli issues on beaches. So it's sort of it's a whole lake health compact, and there were many collaborators on that. Private entities, municipalities, state agencies, the university. Dick was one of the key researchers on the science committee for that, and has been working on these iterations of this plan for decades now. So there were from that, it was like a year or 2 long process. There were actions that they came up with for local governments to take on. And a lot of it's things that we're already doing or that's in the works. Nothing was like a brand new idea. But it's something that I want to make sure we just at least keep on our plates. And we are working towards that in other ways too. And the stormwater engineer, it's mostly in his court with the policy side of those things. But there's things I feel like we could do, low-hanging fruit on public education, and things like our street sweeping and keep leaves out of the streets initiative, which we already do every fall. So I think what I want to do is meet with Clean Lakes Alliance and the county and just talk about ideas for a more cohesive message that we can talk to residents about. And Clean Lakes Alliance already has a program called Resilient Landscapes. It's called like 10 Ways to Help Your Lakes at Home. And they include really easy entry points for residents in their yards and their homes to do, you know, things like cleaning up pet waste, planting native plants for pollinators, for infiltrating water and also to feed habitat, food gardens, composting. Some of them are easy and some of them are a little bit more intimidating for people to start out, but we have collaborated with them and a number of other groups in the past before the pandemic on how to message this, and that they've created graphics and a program around it, and they're finalizing that now. So they wanted to meet with Middleton to talk about it and how we might begin to roll that out in the spring.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so
Oh,
okay,
go ahead.
just a little quick follow-up, because you mentioned education and rolling it out in the spring. Does our committee have anything to do with that? Because I know in the past, we talked about having, flyers or something in with the water, utility bills, but you have to plan so far in advance that we keep missing our deadline. So it's like, if we're going to do something in spring, do we need to think about it this fall? Is it something, I guess, that impacts us?
Yeah, I mean, that would be amazing. That would be great to have some committee support and help for that. I don't know, we may still be able to meet the fall deadline of the utility bill, but we could definitely plan for the April utility bill. We did put something in the April utility bill a couple years ago about, I think it was about water softener, which leads into our next agenda item quite nicely.
Yeah, okay.
But
If you don't mind, in the interest of time, because we're already over on our allotment here, but I don't want to cut Kelly short. Is that okay, Laura, if we sort of leave this part at that, and then the Renew the Blue, I have looked at that online. It's a big thing online that Dick could also offline answer separate questions about, I'm sure as well. So Kermit, I believe you were next, and then Dick.
Yeah, I was noticing the MG&E rate case on net metering item, and testimony is due on August 28th. I'm wondering, gee, that's only a week away. Is that done? Is there any chance to see what the testimony is going to be from the committee? And is there anything we can do to support that process?
I believe there's going to be a public comment period, which will be really important for citizens and anybody who's associated with some of, like 350.org is an intervener. We're an intervener.
Yep.
There's quite a few interveners doing testimony. The testimony, we've been working really hard on it for the past month. So we've got a draft and we're madly going over the draft and filling in data points and different things right now. So that's what this week is filled with.
Okay, I was just wondering, is there any plan or role for the committee to have in terms of at least being aware of the testimony that's going to be submitted, if not providing any feedback?
I think that legally the lawyers would prefer the testimony to be kept under wraps until it's submitted. But then once it's submitted, everyone can see, I think it'll be public.
Right, yeah, it will be once it's.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I'm not sure all the legalities of
Okay.
speaking about it now. Never been a part of it. I've had a lot of meetings, but.
Right. Okay, yeah, it just seems like it's definitely an issue that comes under the purview of the Sustainability Committee, and so it seems like it would not be inappropriate for us to have a chance to speak into the content of the testimony. And anyways, so that's my question, that's my concern. I think there is a place. Whether or not any of us would have time to provide meaningful or timely input is another question, but at least in principle.
Yeah, I can talk to our lawyer and see what he thinks about sharing it publicly.
Or well, yeah.
Everything's open record, so
Right.
if we submit anything over email, MGE has access to that. And they have done information requests for other groups quite extensively.
Right. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll get that input from them, from the attorney, but I think you have a good concern too.
Thank you. Dick, is it, or I mean, Kermit, is that it? May I
Yep,
move?
that was
to-
it. That was it.
Okay, thank you. Dick?
Okay, I'll just pass. I was gonna comment on the question that Laura raised, but it's not relevant so much right now. I'll pass.
Okay, you two connect offline if that makes sense. Okay. Any other questions on Kelly's staff report?
I
No.
just gotta say, from the agenda point of view, you only gave it 5 minutes. I think we discussed this before. There's so much in here that we really want to get up to speed on, and we have to ask questions. I feel you gotta be able to give them 15, 20 minutes at least for this. And so when you do an agenda, please don't limit it to 5 minutes. That's always killing us on the agenda.
Fair point. Noted. Okay, next agenda item is the water softener pilot program with Emily Jones. Emily, thank you. Welcome to our committee. Thanks for joining.
Yes, thank you for having me. If you haven't met me before, I know that it's been a few years since I presented to your committee. So I'm a pollution prevention specialist at Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District. My team works to keep things out of the sewer system that cause issues for our compliance, for the environment, for infrastructure, etc. As you know, and as Kelly already alluded to with the mailer that was sent out, we have worked with the committee before to conduct education around chloride reduction. Chloride is one of our big priority items. All the salt that goes down the sewer system, primarily from water softeners, just ends up in the environment. We are not designed to remove it from wastewater whatsoever. So we've been working on pollution prevention, source reduction to reduce chloride. So I have just a few slides here about an initiative that we're exploring. My team has been interested in expanding our suite of options for reducing chloride. You know, we've been focusing so much on water softeners because they're our primary source, but we are interested in testing out devices called blending valves. And we thought, let's reach out to some small groups of engaged, sustainability-minded people, and our minds went to the sustainability committee, obviously, and we're also reaching out to some other softener companies, plumbers, have some other groups of residents in mind as we explore this option. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of background about where we're coming from in our chloride program, how we've landed on this particular option, and what we're thinking for pilot testing them out. To get you up to speed on where we are for chloride, the summary is that we have reduced chloride. We've seen some successes in what we've tried so far in water softener salt reduction and road salt reduction, but we still have a ways to go. This is our weekly chloride concentration last year. These dotted lines up here are our current permit limits. This blue line is where our chloride concentration was each week on average in 2022. So although we're below our permit temporary limits, we are not at this dotted line going across here. This is 395. This is the Wisconsin statewide chloride criterion, which eventually is what we and other wastewater treatment plants will be subject to. And so we still need to find ways to reduce chloride. Up to now in our source reduction program, which has been in place since 2010, we've really been focusing on improving the efficiency of water softeners. So just like other appliances, water softeners can be inefficient or efficient. So we've really been promoting water softener efficiency improvements, particularly replacing water softeners that are clunkers, so to speak, that are just using more salt than they really need to soften water. But there are some limitations that we found in the ways that we've tested this out. One is that replacing water softeners is expensive and it's not required. So it's a really big ask for residents to replace their water softeners, get a higher efficiency model in there. And even if they take that step, water softeners themselves have a lifespan. You know, they're not going to work indefinitely. They're going to lose efficiency. And so our thought is, well, even if we got everybody in the service area to replace their water softener, what happens in 15 years? Do we just have to pay people again to replace their softeners. You know, we've found some limitations of focusing just on water softener efficiency improvements. But there are multiple pathways to get to reduced chloride in the sewer system. In addition to more efficient water softeners, there's also softening less water. So that's what we're really focusing on. Now, in our area, when we say softening less water, we definitely don't mean softening no water. As you're probably aware, with the groundwater, source water that we have, it's very naturally hard. There's a lot of minerals, a lot of calcium, magnesium in that water. And so we don't tell people just take your softener out, because they're probably going to see those undesirable impacts of hard water, namely scale buildup on their water heater, interfering with its lifespan and its efficiency, and scale buildup on other fixtures. But what we're really interested in is whether there's kind of a balance or a middle ground between totally soft, which is what's coming out of your water softener, and totally hard, which is what's coming out of the ground into people's homes. And part of why we're interested in this is that there are several communities that don't have completely soft water. So for instance, communities along Lake Michigan that use that surface water as their water source have softer water or less hard water, but it's not zero. There's not zero hardness in that water. So from the Manitowoc and Milwaukee water utilities, for instance, they're giving recommendations that our source water has about 7 grains per gallon of hardness in it. It's moderately hard, but it's up to you if you want a water softener. It's completely your choice. It's not something that's seen as a necessity in those areas like it is in our area. And so if people in those communities can get by on 7 grains per gallon of hardness, could people in our area tolerate that level of hardness? So that what brings us to blending valves. So this little picture, just a little simple plumbing add-on, it basically diverts a portion of water. If you picture water coming into a home, it diverts some of that water that's still hard around the softener and then blends it back into the softened water. So on average, that water is much less hard than what was coming into a house. It's much lower in minerals, which could lead to that scale buildup, but it's not zero. So you might, depending on how that valve is set up, you might have 4 grains of hardness, 5 grains of hardness, whatever the set point is. And so ultimately, the softener is not softening as much water. And so that means it's using less salt, which means we can start seeing these percentage reductions in salt if these were widely adopted. We see some advantages of these devices over our traditional tack of just focusing on water softener efficiency. One is they can be installed on existing softeners. I stood by as a plumber from Dave Jones, installed this on a test unit. It took less than 5 minutes. They're cheap, they're in the $20, $40 range as a part, in addition to whatever it would cost to have them installed. But that, a couple, like $100 or so to have one of these installed is much less expensive than investing, $1,400, $1,500 in a high efficiency water softener. So we suspect it could be a lot more doable, a lot more feasible for more residents than buying a high efficiency softener. And to address that question of what happens as new softeners lose efficiency, this is potentially a longer term solution. If we can change the norm in our area from softening to zero hardness in our water to having a few grains per gallon of hardness in our water, then we can start seeing that add up over time in just softening less water, being less reliant on salt. And just as an illustration, you don't have to be too hung up on the numbers here, but assuming everybody on a street, on the same neighborhood, use the same amount of water from a well that had 20 grains per gallon hardness, which is a pretty typical hardness in our area. So these examples are a softener efficiency that's pretty mediocre, softening most of the water in the home, a high efficiency softener, softening most of the water in the home, another mediocre efficiency softener, softening less water in the home, and the combination of softening less water and having an efficient water softener. You can see what the result is in that salt use in a given month. So from a softening most of the water with a mediocre efficiency using the most to achieving the same outcome by either softening less water or increasing softener efficiency, or even better, combining the two and having an efficient softener and softening less water. So we're using less than half of this first scenario. And so this is just to illustrate, if we are able to scale these types of options across our service area, this type of difference starts to add up in the amount of chloride that's ending up in the sewer system. So what we want to ask at this point, because we don't know of a lot of people that have blending valves, they're not a standard practice in our area. So we want to answer so we can have a better just body of knowledge for our outreach and for promoting these types of devices. How do people like these? You know, if people put them in their homes, what is their experience? Do they notice a difference in their water quality? You know, what's the installation process like? What should people be doing? Should they be calling any plumber? Should they be calling certain plumbers? How does that process go for the installers too? And then some more nitty-gritty questions like, what level of hardness is acceptable? How high up can we get this? And so how much chloride can we proportionately reduce? And how can we get people to do this? As I mentioned, we don't have any requirements for water softener improvements, and same goes for plumbing changes at the moment. Everything is voluntary. And so my team has been looking at ways to motivate people to give them feasible options and whatever their barriers might be, to overcome those so they can use less salt and have that impact on the amount of chloride that's coming to the sewer system. So hopefully we can find that long-term compliance. So that brings me to our idea for why we're reaching out to groups like yours, which is we basically want to see if you would be willing to install blending valves. This is something that you can mull over, decide, hey, is this something that I could try out in my home? As a kind of easy first step, since we're working with a small number of people, we can facilitate the testing of these devices. So one piece of homework, if you are interested in this, if you decide, yeah, this is something I'm willing to test out, then you can just send me, my email address is there, your type of water softener, and then we can talk to the experts in the softening realm that we have connections with to say, would this be possible for this type of softener? And then basically facilitate that installation. Currently, we have one test case going so far. A bunch of staff from Tim O'Brien Homes voluntarily installed these in their home. They got the valves from Dave Jones Plumbing, and basically they're just seeing how they like them. And if they do like them, we're hoping then the company will have that much more confidence to install those in the homes that they're building. So it's kind of the same concept that if we have some testers like you all, then we have a little bit more confidence, more case studies that we can start promoting this among plumbers, among softening companies, and among residents. So that ends kind of the pitch that I wanted to bring to you, but I'd welcome any questions you have. So that's a lot of information to pack into a few minutes.
Oh, go ahead, Dean, then Dick. You're on mute.
Yep.
Dean.
Sorry. So I guess my first question is, I know about phosphorus and its effects. I know less about chloride. And is the effect of chloride linear? Like, you have to be, does every grain count? Or are there levels? Do we know something about the effects of 5, 10, 15, 20 grains per gallon already?
Well, for the first part, so the effect of chloride, so we're concerned about it, or the reason that we have a permit limit for it is just because of its impacts, both acute and chronic, on freshwater species. And I just want to clarify, because there's a lot of different constituents or water quality substances that I'm talking about. So chloride is the consequence of using salt to soften our water. The grains per gallon I'm talking about are about calcium, magnesium, because those are the ions that we want to remove from the water so they're not causing issues in our appliances. As for a linear effect, I don't know that off the top of my head. In talking to water softener companies, I've been getting different, people have different philosophies. Some of them are very used to, we soften down to 0 grains per gallon because we don't want people to be upset with us because there's hardness in their water. But I've talked to others that say, you're probably not going to notice if you have like 4 grains per gallon, 5 grains per gallon, that's acceptable. In fact, in Germany, is a floor for the amount of hardness you can soften to. You have to have at least 2 grains per gallon in your water because they're concerned about its effect on old pipes or something like that. I'm a little fuzzy on that. You know, I don't know if there is kind of an exponential effect that comes in at a certain level of hardness, but I'm using the benchmarks of these other communities like Milwaukee, Green Bay, Manitowoc that have natural hardness in their source water, and they don't see pronounced effects that I'm aware of.
And are there freshwater species doing better?
So the freshwater species, so like so back to the chloride impacts, you know, we know that the 395 milligram per liter, so that's the chronic chloride threshold, that's based on research done in Wisconsin that says if indicator species are exposed to this level of chloride for a given amount of time, they start to see stress. You know, you might see Wisconsin Saltwise has a lot of information on this. So you might see smaller fish, you might see effects on reproduction. And so depending on the level of chloride in a stream, you might see that reflected in the fish community or other aquatic species.
I'm
Got
gonna
it.
jump in
Thank
here.
you.
And thanks. I'm gonna jump in here and turn it over to our in-house water expert, Dick.
Okay, well, the chloride issue is at the discharge point of the Madison Met's discharge to Badfish Creek. And so they're trying to meet the standard of, well, below 400. And that's where Emily is correct that there are issues that show chronic toxicity. So is 395 any really different than 410? Probably not, but that's the standard that EPA has come up with for the discharge limit. So there's no effect on the lakes of this water softener salt. It's the road salt that's increasing our lakes and our streams. So that's part of the background that is all that their water from the treatment plant is going into. I just had a question for you though, Emily.
Mhm.
What is a tolerable level? So you're mentioning 2 or 4 grains per gallon. I'm just curious, has anybody thought about in the plumbing, keeping the hardness really low going into the water heater, but having the cold water tap be mixed because it's our toilets. We drink water out of our sink in the bathroom upstairs. So I would actually like to see a few grains of minerals in that, but not at the full 20 or 21. But the water softener, I'm not sorry, the water heater might, so in other words, instead of blending it right at the point, maybe figure out the plumbing so that all water softener salt goes into the water heater. In other words, the hot water line, whereas the cold water return that's softened, blend that. And I think that could be done with some kind of valve system, but it's not quite what you're representing.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And it does relate to another suggestion that we've put out there. You know, we have presented in our outreach that one option to reduce chloride use that's pretty significant on compared to softening everything is to soften only the hot water. And so scale, that hardness buildup forms more readily in hot water, which is why the water heater is the priority for an appliance that water softeners protect. But, you know, to Dick's point, you know, cold water systems may not be as affected by hard water. But when we have suggested, when talking to plumbers, softener companies, what if we just soften only hot water? You know, that used to be the way things were done decades ago. In older neighborhoods, you find a lot of hot only plumbing, but a lot of the service providers, the plumbers and softener technicians, really balk at that. And so that might be something they become more comfortable with in the future as they see people demanding that. You know, they don't want dissatisfied customers to say, well, now I've got hardness in my water, I've ruined my toilet, I've ruined my aerators or something like that. Part of the reason that we are pursuing blending valves is because they're a lot more amenable to that, getting the installers comfortable with that. But there's no requirement to have a water softener. There's no requirement for our residents to soften their cold water. And so any one of you could call a plumber and say, could you disconnect my cold water from my softener, or at least evaluate if that'd be possible with my plumbing? And that would reduce salt significantly. So we keep that on the table, but we also know that there are probably a lot of installers that are going to be resistant to that. So we're kind of trying these incremental steps.
I just want to, can I just follow up quick?
Quick.
Yeah, so just saying, we use, I mean, in my household, I know we use very little hot water, showers, and that's about it, you know? And all the other water is going out for the toilets and just general use of softened water. So I just think that you could cut the salt even more if you were able to push this other thing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go to Kermit, but if you don't mind, I'm trying to keep this a little tight.
I just want to refocus and clarify Emily's request. You're asking for the Sustainability Committee members to respond as possible pilot subjects, or are you wanting us to help spread the word broader than that? And if so, what's your vision there?
We're asking you, the committee members at this point, because I think it's a small group, you know, and then we can engage really closely. I'm talking to Kelly tomorrow, actually, kind of wanted to, you know, flesh out ideas for the future. But I think that we're interested in staying small at this point, because we can interview people, we can get case studies, and then we're hopefully going to get people who can be community leaders, can be champions. If you wanted then with your own experience to say, you know, we all set this to 4 grams per gallon or whatever, we saw our salt use go down, we didn't see any pronounced impacts on our water quality, or whatever the outcomes are, then you can use that as, you know, the next step, the next phase of, well, how can we expand this throughout Middleton? Can we find another tester group? Are we ready to expand this to the whole community? You know, answer those questions after we have some of those basic questions answered.
Okay, thank you. Good clarification, Kermit. Dick, do you have another?
Quick question. When you mentioned you came to our committee a few years ago, and I was on the committee at the time, and you talked about recycling brine water that large units like hotels might have, and we could use the salt in that brine water in order to put on our roads. Has anything happened with that? Because you were discussing that back at that time.
There have been a few cases of that. So the U.S. Forest Products Lab implemented a system, and I think they were having some demonstration days to show what they've been doing. There's a lot of information, I believe, that Wisconsin Saltways would have, because it is that intersection of water softeners and road salts. So short answer, yes, some people have tried that out. I think that it depends on the priority for a facility and their ability with their equipment to be able to do that.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Deb, go ahead.
Just real quick, Emily, do you have any kind of a sort of average amount of money it would cost to buy the blending valve and also get it installed?
Yeah, I have some ballparks, and I don't want to kind of guarantee anything at this point. You know, the district does have funding that we can provide to help people take steps to reduce chloride. And when I say I don't want to guarantee anything, I just don't want to run any like rebates or any like free equipment type thing by my team to make sure that I can do that before saying, yeah, we can definitely pay for a blending valve installation. But they are a lot cheaper than water softeners. So I've heard anywhere from like $20 to $40 for the piece itself. And then the installation would depend on the plumber's time. I saw it installed in just a few minutes. So I don't know how these different plumbers are going to price, but you know, I'd say for the softener optimizations, they were charging like $100 on average. So maybe it would be like $130, $140. $150. So that would be my ballpark, but it's going to depend on the plumber that you talk to. And so, you know, if I can also pitch to my team, to my leadership, you know, is this something that we can provide for free? We are piloting this with some other softener companies, and we're basically offering as our grant a free optimization for their customers if they want to have that valve readjusted, to take away some of that risk and some of the fear they have that, oh, we're just going to have to keep going back and taking time out of our normal business to keep tweaking these valves for customers. So that's one example of how we've kind of used funding to make something more appealing to a company, as kind of a ramp to make them more open to it.
Okay, Kermit, do you have something else?
I was just going to ask another clarification. Speaking of the money, are the pilot participants needing to foot the bill themselves, or is that part of what you're offering as part of this partnership?
This is something that I think I can give you more details after I just get
Okay.
definite answer from my team. You know, we've usually been pretty open to providing funds, but just because it is public money, I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that everything is legit.
Okay.
If you want to send
it could
out,
influence the response rate, is all I'm
Yes,
saying.
yes, for sure.
Emily, if you want to send to Kelly, you know, a question and answer FAQ, you know, one pager or something to the committee through Kelly, feel free to do that as well. So if people don't mind, it looks like, oh, I didn't see this. Okay. If people don't mind, I'm going to move on to the next agenda, only in the interest of everything else we have on the agenda. Thank you, Emily, very much. Very helpful information.
Yes, thank you for having me, and I'll follow up with Kelly for some other information to share. And then I
Okay.
said something in the chat about sharing slides. I can provide those as well.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you. Good night.
Good night. Thanks again.
Bye.
Okay, so I'm going to try to keep my next portion quick. Thank you so much, first of all, for everyone being on the meeting tonight. You know, I think it's summer, and you know, the last two meetings we've had a problem with quorum, but it is, you know, an expectation, not that everyone makes every single meeting no matter what every year, but it is an expectation that people attend most meetings. And if you can't, you know, just general common, you know, professional courtesy, if you can't attend a meeting, you know, let us know when you know, Kelly and I, you know, and things come up at last minute for everyone. Yes, things happen. They do happen. You know, let us know. You know, and if some emergencies are literal emergencies and you can't let somebody know, but those should be the exception rather than the rule. So thank you for your attention to that. Also, just a quick reminder on the so like on the quorum rules in email. So anyone can email the entire committee. It's just that we can only have at max 4 people responding, and we don't want to have separate discussions outside of the committee on the published agenda, these meetings, because we are a public, you know, appointed committee. And so the things we talk about as a group and make decisions on, even through discussions that sort of lead to a direction and a decision, should be done in the public forum. And so a couple other things on this, the meetings that's come up regarding the agenda, it's come up in a couple of other meetings, not in our committee, but in other committees, that there's some public comments, and then the comments are not relevant to what is on the agenda that night, and then but the item is still discussed. So that we really can't do that. So let's say we had somebody tonight, I'm just hypothetically make a public comment about birds. And then, excuse me, in the course of our next meeting or the meeting, we decided to talk about the birds. We really can't do that. But excuse me, I'm just getting over this summer cold that my whole family passed on to me. But as an example, Kevin's public comment about the SPP implementation plan, that is on the agenda. So, and Laura and I will, it'll probably we'll have not very much time, but we could discuss that because it's already on the agenda. I hope that makes sense. Also, when I was trained for the committees, or, you know, for on my initiation to the committee, it was stated that if someone misses, I apologize about my voice, I'm sorry. if someone misses 3 consecutive meetings, they may be removed from the committee. So, attendance is important. And given that there has been a request to move back to in-person meetings, given that I'm coughing here or having this, just mentioned I had a summer cold. I don't know if people like that idea, but what do people think? We talked about it maybe a year ago, that we're going to continue virtual. What do people think about possibly returning to in-person? Thoughts? Dick?
I originally thought that in-person meetings would help us get to know other people better. But quite frankly, I found the subgroups where you get to work with somebody and having 4 people or something really zoom in on a topic and work together. I found them to be really good ways to get to know people, or activities like the upcoming parade. And I, quite frankly, thinking back at the time that I had to trudge down to City Hall and get there ahead of time and then wait till somebody got out of the meeting because they were running late and we had our meeting. I appreciate the fact now I've gotten more used to Zoom. I think I prefer that we do our more formal business by Zoom, but recognize that we have other things to do, that subgroups are a way of meeting, like over at Prairie Cafe and sitting down and talking about stuff. So I prefer, I guess, keeping it as Zoom as long as the city is allowing it.
Okay, Deb, thank you.
I have a unique situation in that I have the Friends of Pheasant Branch board meeting, which is prior to this, and it goes from 5 to 7. And so I have to miss the last half hour, and we meet virtually. So for me, it's best to stay virtual because it's pretty quick transition going from their virtual to our virtual. If I had to get in a car and go somewhere, I'd be even later, or I'd have to miss more of my friends' meeting, which is not fair to them, because then they might have a quorum issue when I leave and they're trying to take a vote. So, so I guess I favor virtual.
Okay, thank you, Kermit.
And I concur with the overall preference for a virtual meeting, reasons that both Dick and Deb mentioned. I don't have a conflict with the Pheasants Branch Conservancy Board meeting, but I do occasionally have other meetings that abut or compromise my ability to be in 2 places at once. So that's my overall vote. I will raise one point of concern that I want to make sure we don't lose sight of, though, at the same time, and that is equitability of access and process. And in that regard, I just want to make sure that we are providing a means for people, regardless of income level and or access to technology, to participate. Historically, that doesn't seem like that's been an issue, but then again, the people for whom it's been an issue have not shown up, so we maybe don't know about that. So I just am raising that concern. I don't know how best we can assess it and necessarily address it. But I want to make sure we don't let that slip from the overall discussion.
Good point. Thank you. Laura?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say I kind of agree that the virtual is convenient, especially if you do have to be out of town. So it's like, okay, I'm going to be out of town that day, but I can still meet from 6:30 to 8:30. So having that flexibility is nice. And then just to comment on Kermit's, I was thinking as he was talking, you do, for anybody who maybe wants to participate that can't, how late's the library open? Because I've done that before, where I've actually gone to a library to get online and participate in something. So I'm just kind of with the rest of the group.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm hearing virtual. I just, I will, maybe I'll just say, and I thought about this earlier this week, if we had somebody in the last group of committee members that, just said it got too much with other responsibilities. If that happens and this just isn't the right time for you to be on the committee, that is okay. So it's okay to say that if you want to, if that becomes the case. I appreciate all of your attention to the attendance issue. I don't think it makes any of us look good when we can't get a quorum, and especially 2 times in a row. We actually did get a write-up just about our committee in the Middleton Times Tribune. I didn't put that in my email, but there was an article just about us missing quorum 2 times. So we definitely don't want to do that again. And no one, I'm sure everyone agrees that it's just not fair to speakers or to everybody else who shows up to the meeting, or the public as well. So I think we have that clear. So thank you so much for your attention. Is everyone okay with staying virtual then? We could take a vote on it. Yep. Is anyone again, think this is terrible, and any other comments on it? Otherwise we'll stick virtual.
I'll make a motion that we stay virtual.
If we're not making a change, I don't know that we need to make a motion or have a vote. It's like status quo prevails.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So
just for the sake of time, and
yeah, unless I don't hear any.
Withdraw my motion. I'll withdraw it.
Okay. Okay. So, all right, then the plan is to stay virtual. Thank you for that discussion, everyone. Okay, moving on to the next item. So Kelly, I think we'll need your leadership on the next one. So there are some big things coming up, which, are big things, but it's really, in a sense, nice that the Sustainability Committee is being looked to for our guidance on these different items within the city. So go ahead, Kelly. Do you want to give some background?
Well, I'm sorry for that long paragraph trying to basically provide a space for you all to decide whether you want to. There's sort of a choice. There's 3 bigger issues right now that the 2 have been referred to the committee from other city committees. One is the zoning code review. The zoning code document is a really important document that hasn't been rewritten, hasn't been revised for over 20 years, and it's very out of date. And it's one of the main documents for a city that has some regulatory teeth that you can enforce. It involves the codes and zoning and how land is used in the city. So it's a pretty important document, but it's also very dry and has a lot of, it's like regulatory language in it. It's not a necessarily easy read, but the Sustainability Committee has been asked to review several chapters in the zoning code. So that's one big item. The feedback is due September 21st. So we will have another meeting before the 21st that we could compile and vote on our comments or your comments. The other document is the comprehensive plan amendment review. And that's also a very big document, close to 200 pages. And it's also a very important document. It's the overarching planning document for the city. And we try to review that once a year and provide updates, amendments, mark things off that we've completed, change language in some credit in some actions that seem outdated. So there's a proposed amendment put forward, and it was sent to Plan Commission, and Plan Commission referred it to this committee to go over. So there's that review. And then the Sustainability Committee operating budget is your $10,000 that you have every year to spend on. It's very flexible what you spend it on. It can be spent on events, conferences, things like the parade, running, things like Sustainable You, the Celebration. You can spend it on what you want to spend it on. But it tends to be that we have a remaining budget. Last year we did pretty well on spending it all down. But Kermit and Christy both mentioned it'd be nice to have put some other minds in the committee to think about how you might want to spend the remaining amount this year, and also think about going forward if there's certain things you'd like to earmark that money for every year or just as placeholders. Nothing has to be official. This is also not something that the city needs to see a line item budget from the committee on. It's simply an internal discussion that a subgroup potentially could have to think about ideas for how to spend your committee operating budget. So it's not really a suggestion, but I'm putting the offering on the table that you might want to consider creating a subgroup for the zoning code review, just to break it down somewhat, if anyone's really interested in looking at it, and then come back to the next meeting with a more organized set of feedback and comments on it that the whole committee can talk about. Or you may decide not to do that, and then you have an entire month for the committee members to go through the zoning codes yourself and come up with your own comments, and then we can discuss as a full committee in a public meeting next time as well. So it's up to you, but I want to open that discussion for you all, that they're just very big documents, and we have one more meeting before comments are due.
Yeah, I can see benefits of both ways. Personally, a subcommittee is good, but also if people who want to review them, and then we come back next time with suggestions and discuss them at the meeting. What do people think or prefer? Dick?
This big, I've always found, you need somebody to walk through the nuts and bolts of it. If you just dump this on somebody with limited time by the next meeting, quite frankly, I don't have the time. I'm quite busy in the next few weeks to really go into it. So I need a group or somebody to talk about it at the next meeting. So I just think that these kind of big documents are hard to digest unless you really, really dive into it.
Okay, that's a good suggestion. Oh, Kermit, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I empathize with Dick as far as, on the one hand, the wisdom of having some focused pre-digesting going on, and the other of not necessarily having the time to do it myself. And so maybe one way to focus the discussion now is, do we have, if we were to say we potentially want to have 3 subgroups looking at each of these 3 areas, do we have 2 or more people who want to look at each of these respective topics over the coming month that have the time and energy to also commit to doing that? And I am, over the coming month, I'm basically needing to say, I don't think I have, even though I have the interest, I don't think I have the bandwidth that I can commit, at least right off top. So if we don't have anybody who has the time and energy and bandwidth, then regardless of how important it is, we may just have to settle on a group discussion with whatever highlights people are able to come up with on their own. But who wants to volunteer is my bottom line question.
So I would volunteer to look at all 3 of them. Do we have other people who have this specific interest? And if not, I can provide you with a summary, of my reviews too. Next month. Go ahead.
See, I could volunteer. I don't know if I want to volunteer for more than one.
Okay.
Either zoning or the comprehensive plan. I would have an interest in, and I'll be gone all of next week, but I'll be around all of September.
Okay. I think the operating budget for this year, which is the I think everyone should think about the operating budget a little bit. I want to dive in deeper. I take personal responsibility actually for letting this fall off the radar this late in the year. I feel that I should have done a better job of getting this on the radar earlier, for the operating budget. One idea I do have on that, I don't know that, I mean, we could have a subcommittee, but we don't have to, but, is just, we had a few of us that talked about a meet and greet at both City Hall and the MOC, the Middleton Operations Center, with our committee, anyone who can make it, and the staff, just to brainstorm together, put faces to names, come up with ideas together, and just sort of align in that way. So that's an idea. We could, pay for, sub lunches, we could pay for coffee and pastries, that kind of thing. So that's one idea.
Great, Christy, can I suggest we focus on the 3 subgroup question though, for the
sure.
right now for the agenda item?
Sure.
That's a great idea. That sounds like it'd be excellent, but as far as getting this agenda item.
Yep. Okay.
checked off.
Okay. So we have one. Tony, you want to do one of them, zoning code review or comprehensive plan? Do you want to pick one?
Or
you
I
you don't know yet?
challenging
Okay.
one is the zoning.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
Probably
You
for that
don't-
reason, I prefer the other one.
Yeah, you don't have to decide right now either. Okay, anybody else, or do you just want me to kind of talk to people? Deb?
Are we looking at specific, the whole report on, let's say, zoning, or are we looking at specific sections of zoning? I mean,
They are specific sections. I can pull them up right now.
specific sections, okay.
Yeah, these are the sections of the zoning code. So solar, wind energy, EV infrastructure, land use, bicycle standards, things like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay, well, okay, I will volunteer for the zoning one then.
Okay. So Deb, you and I could technically do zoning. Tony, do you want to do comprehensive plan? It's just the amendment part with me? I mean, I'll be on all 3.
Yeah, no, I'd be glad to do that. Yeah.
Okay. And then budget. Anybody else want to talk with me about budget, and we can come to the next meeting with essentially a proposal? Or I can just come with ideas too, and then we can discuss it if nobody wants to, which is fine. I'm fine with that.
Why don't we just have people give you ideas of what we might
There you
think?
go. There you go. People send me ideas. Yeah, Kermit.
I was just gonna say, keep me in the loop on the meetings that you end up convening, and I may have the flexibility. It's particularly the budget. I think I could carve out the time for that.
Okay.
It's just the hundreds and hundreds of pages that
Yeah.
I'm
Okay,
not sure I
so
can.
okay, so you and me on the budget, basically, and then Deb, I'm sorry, did you have more?
As far as the budget goes, you should know that for the Sustainable Middleton Awards, we probably will need some money. Dick, any idea of how much ballpark?
Oh, just a few hundred. I think we've got the plaques all done. We just need a few hundred for printing. And yeah, so it's not actually that money wouldn't be spent until next year. So we're talking about spending
Oh,
money out of
Right.
this year. So
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
even
yeah.
not
But
even
that'll go into the next year's budget anyway.
Right.
So that's
Okay.
good. It's good to know.
But it's
Okay,
right. It's still good to know, because I think that's the scope we're envisioning for the budget conversation, is wrap up
Yeah.
this year, and
Yeah.
also let's plan ahead for a change
Yeah.
for next
yeah,
year.
okay. I think we have a good, subgroups of 2 is easy. So, thank you, everyone. I think that's I'm very pleased about that. So, so let's count that as a go on that. Thank you. Okay, Kelly, you have, the zoning code rewrite as the next edge at 7. Actually, I'm unclear about that. So what is that different than the subgroup you're talking about in 6?
These are the, this is what was referred to the committee. So this is your formal referral. So you can refer to
Oh.
the agenda packet and see
Okay.
all the notes and documents that are included in those
Got it.
referrals, which you'll need for both, either whether you're doing subgroup work or just individual, you take a look at it sometime in the next month and have a couple comments.
Okay, perfect.
So so through this next month, it would be helpful for anyone to prepare for next month's actual feedback
Yep.
discussion to look at this packet under these two agenda items, both 7 and 8. And I also I had to put them on there because they were referred, but it also provides a space for further discussion if
Right.
you wanted to have any.
Okay. So go ahead, Carmen.
It seems to me that items 7 and 8 in that case, given that we have opted to have subcommittees address or dig into those, that these agenda items effectively should be carried forward to next month's meeting as finalizing remarks or comments on zoning code, finalizing remarks on the comprehensive plan. Is that something that makes sense? So we don't, it doesn't seem like there's need for investing much time at this point in those items.
Yes, I think you're correct.
Okay, so the one quick clarification is that the recommendation set a public hearing for Tuesday, September 26th at 7. Is that already set and we should attend, or what?
Oh yeah,
Or-
sorry about that. That was the recommendation for the Plan Commission where this item was first introduced, and then they referred this entire agenda item to our committee. But we do
Okay.
not have to recommend, we don't have the power to set a public hearing. So
Okay.
that I should have deleted that out of there, but I copied the agenda item as a referral.
Okay.
Got it. Yep.
Okay, great. All right. Thank
I have
you.
a-
Oh, go ahead.
Christy, excuse me, I have a question. In the packet, it says under zoning code section of particular interest to sustainability committee, it gives what you put on the screen, a list of areas of concern and the associated zoning numbers to designate, but it doesn't give you the pre-existing zoning code nor the change. Where do we find that? Where do we find what's being proposed? I suppose we can obviously look up on the city website the existing zoning
Right.
code, but what's being changed or what's proposed to be changed?
Yeah.
Could I suggest that as an offline resource issue to discuss with Kelly?
Sure.
Again, I'm just wanting to be sensitive to the agenda. We were running late before, and I don't know if where we're at.
Yeah, I just want to raise the question.
Yes, it's a question. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that we can't answer it here necessarily. Kelly may have to do some consulting with her friends at the planning commission or Mark Opitz at the planning staff.
Yeah, if that's the case, that's fine. I'll just check with Kelly.
Yeah, we can definitely get you that. It's on the website, and I'll provide a link to the old zoning code. Some of this will probably be completely new as well.
Okay. CC me too, Kelly, would be great.
Yeah,
Thank you. Okay.
and actually for that matter, share it with everybody, because in theory, everybody is, willing to at least look at things, even if they're not digging in as deep as the subgroups are.
Sure, definitely. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to the next one. So committee work initiative. So we definitely have items I'd like to switch on the order. So Shreya isn't here. But I'm going to switch up the items to the Good Neighbor Festival first, just because that is coming up really quickly. So we have questions that need to be answered. Who is going to be in the parade? Who doesn't have a shirt? And how do we get you? How did the shirts get to you? Those are three of the main questions. And then Dick and Deb, you take it from here and tell me, or tell the group what else. So who plans to be in the parade from our committee?
Well, I can tell you who I have, and you can,
Okay.
if there's others, or if you're dropping off, let me know. But I have Dick, Deb, Christy, Dean, Scott, Laura, Kermit, and Kelly, and Shreya with the high school.
Okay, is that
Is that
still
correct?
accurate?
Is that accurate?
Everyone?
Yes, it's accurate.
Okay. Who
Okay.
doesn't have their shirt?
I don't, I haven't received a shirt yet.
Okay, so my thought on that is, can you pick it up at City Hall? Dick and I are going over tomorrow.
Sure.
And we would put it at the main desk when you come in and have your name on it. And there's 3 new members, so sorry, my cat is needing me. Anyway, I'll have them at the City Hall at the desk.
Thank you.
Do we know your size, Dean?
You,
Yes,
I sent it to you, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I got it.
Okay.
I have a medium for Dean and Tony is a large. And John Schaefer, I know I think we got him a large.
Who else doesn't have a shirt? Scott? Okay.
Well, Scott, pick up yours at City Hall. Yours is there from last year.
It's just,
I sent it out. I sent it out in the clerk's office, so it's on the table with your name on it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so do you want to go over, so it's 11:30, we are float number 11. And this is, let me make sure I'm looking at this, is next Sunday, the 27th. The next Sunday, this Sunday, the next
coming
available Sunday, we are there. On the 27th, this Sunday, we are float number 11. We need to be at the Sauk Trail, Dick and Deb, tell me if I'm wrong, the Sauk Trail Elementary School by 11:30 a.m. for lineup. Is that it, right?
That's about where we start. We were 5 last year, so we may be a little farther down the street, but actually they had 2 or 3 different lines, I think, in the street. So if you come there, don't expect to be able to use that street. You're going to want to park somewhere. We need to be there by 11:30. We'd like to get the whole group together and get a nice group photo and just go over through what everybody's expected to do. We did end up with 3 middle schoolers providing banners, and we mounted them on sticks, and we had them actually done professionally by Alpha Graphics, and they look really beautiful.
Not banners, signs.
I'm sorry, posters.
Yeah, signs.
That kids are going to carry. The teenagers from the high school, the green team, most of them will be distributing our tote bags, which are foldable. They have a little snap on them, and they're something that you can toss. Mark Opitz told me indirectly through my wife, we are not allowed to throw them. Well, we are not throwing them. We're going to toss these light things into the crowd.
I played softball in high school. I can't not throw things. I'm just kidding.
We're just lightly think of tossing a light beanbag, okay? And so the high school kids mostly will be doing that. We probably would like one of our committee members and a high school kid to carry the front banner because it represents both the high school and, I'm sorry, the green team and our committee. Laura and Deb, last year you did a good job. You're both the same height. You could carry the energy reduction banner, or you can turn that over to somebody else and have somebody tall like me on the front, or Kermit, and then somebody short on the back, but then the sign would be sideways. So you guys can figure that out. We don't have any really extra posters that we can use. Kelly, you said you had yours left over from last year, so I'm assuming you're good. Kermit, do you have posters from last year, or are you wandering around in your bike without anything other than your beat?
I didn't keep any of the posters from the parade. I might still have some of my vote. Anyways, yeah, okay. So I would look for something.
We don't have any other posters on sticks. We'll look at what we have left over from before.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't we have them left over from last year?
Well, they're not on sticks. Somehow the sticks disappeared. So we'll have to just see if any of them have value. We'll assess it tomorrow. So anyway, be there by 11:30. And it's really hot the next few days, but the weekend weather I saw is cooling down to like a high of 75 on Sunday. If that's true, that's unbelievable. So,
That-
so anyway, 11:30, somewhere near Sauk Trail on Branch Street, and then we turn down Franklin. We'll line up on Branch Street, but you won't be able to get close to it to park. So you're gonna have to figure that out. Any other questions? Other than getting T-shirts to the various people. Shreya is coming tomorrow. She texted me, by the way, Deb.
Oh, okay.
And Christy can't make it, but I think if Kelly, are you gonna be at the building tomorrow? So let us into the closet and stuff?
Someone definitely can. I should be there. What time are you coming again?
10 o'clock.
Okay, all right, yep.
Okay, the one last thing that is a big question mark is the EV vehicle. Is that, we have a new city vehicle. It's a blue Ford Mustang, which was a Ford Mustang was what the car was last year, although it was a private car. And it says the city of Middleton on the side. We still want to put on our static cling signs about, go electric and doesn't no gas, no oil, no exhaust. But we need to be able to get all our bags in the back of this car. So Kelly, how are we going to be able to connect with this guy before Sunday, or else we're going to have to meet up with him earlier? And by God, if he's not there, we're screwed. So we need, I'd like to see the guy, the whites of his eyes, and know that he will be there.
Let's see if we can talk to him tomorrow at 10. I'll try to rustle him up from downstairs. See, we can talk about it. What time would you like? How long does it take to put those cling films on the car?
They're a little tricky to get the wrinkles out, I found. So you're not, I don't think we'd like to do that Sunday morning. Okay. I feel like we ought to do that on Friday. If we could arrange with him on Friday to get all the bags in the back of the car and put the cling signs on, then, and he can drive it home. Hopefully he'll have a clean car. I mean, it'd be nice to have a clean car in the parade. I'd like to do it ahead of time. And Saturday's going to be nuts. I could maybe do it in the morning, but if we could arrange on Friday to meet with him, that would be better. But
Okay.
I don't want to do the car Sunday morning, half an hour before we're supposed to go. It would be too hard.
Okay.
So Kelly, I'm thinking we're going to be putting the foldable bags into last year's big bags. So we're getting rid of these boxes, and we're going to be at City Hall. Can't he access those bags and put it in the EV car? I mean, do we have to be there on Friday to help him? Or what are you thinking?
Is it a lot? Is it like, a half an hour job, or is it, I don't know, I can't visualize how many it's going to be, but I can help on Friday.
We have 5 big boxes of these foldable tote bags, and it won't take us very long to put them in our own I'll call them grocery bags from last year.
Okay.
It's just a question of logistically, where are we going to put them and keep them until he gets them in his car? And when is he going to put them in? It won't take long to load his car.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I can help him on Friday. You can stack them in my cubicle area, or we can find a spot, especially on Friday. If we have that conference room, we'll find a spot. We don't need to talk about it right now, I guess. Tomorrow we can figure that out.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So what's the estimated time that the parade finishes? Having only watched it from one point and haven't gone by, I don't know when you get done.
It's 1 hour, isn't it?
I say it's a good hour.
Just an hour. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not claiming it's exactly an hour. It might be an hour 15, hour 20.
I won't hold you to it. I'm just
And
okay.
It'd be nice. Is there some way, Kelly, that you could get a packet of water bottles and we'll write names on them so that we can keep it in the back of the car so people, as we're walking, can come back and get a water bottle?
Or,
Yeah, or you
We could bring our own.
Yeah, I can
or
bring
people
my
could
own.
bring your own, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's
Well, that's better. I mean,
that
if
would
you
be
can-
more sustainable. Bring your
Exactly.
own
Yeah.
reusable.
Yeah.
Okay, well
Just on
taken,
cue, Laura has her water bottle.
There we go, perfect.
well
Okay.
taken, Kermit, okay.
Yeah. Okay, Kermit, did you have another comment? Otherwise, I'll move on to.
I was just gonna ask, as far as the number of people, what's the total contingent that'll be scheduled to gather, and or do we need to recruit more people?
I think we're good on people if everybody shows up that says they're gonna be there.
And so that's gonna be about everybody on the committee
We
plus,
got 6 high school kids, that counts Shreya. We've got 3 middle schoolers that are gonna carry their own posters. We've got how many of our own
8.
people?
8.
Yeah, we're good shape. It'd be nice actually if we have more posters, so we'll have to look at what our supply is, but we'll try to come up with something. But if you've got a poster you want to make, or an idea you want to make a poster at home, feel free to do that. If you got anything, in fact, the 350 people, you must have posters that are climate related or something.
maybe, yeah. The logistical challenge of getting them is the issue, but one way or the other, we'll.
Otherwise,
Are you just gonna plan on bringing all the posters so that we can figure out what to do with them?
well, I'm saying we don't have a whole lot of extra posters right now because most of those got damaged or destroyed and they don't have sticks for some reason. And so we'll look at maybe salvaging a couple of them, but there may be a few people of our group that'll be going down, spelling different people at various functions and just waving to the crowd or whatever. So,
Right.
you know, we don't have enough posters, I think, for everybody that might be able to carry one.
Okay. Okay, let's move on right now. If we want to talk about the posters, we can talk about the offline a little bit more. I want to get to Laura. Do you want to talk about the implementation plan? I know it's still in progress.
Yes, it is in progress. I have the stuff that you gave me, and I have all of Bob Owen's comments there. So basically, I need to stitch it all together. I've looked through some of the comments. It's just a matter of tying it all together. So it's really I've printed it out. I don't know how sustainable that was, but I got to write on it. Otherwise, I can't do it in in electronic form. So it's in process, trying to embed it all. I guess the one thing I'm wondering about, and we don't have to discuss this real long, is the length. I mean, I actually looked through the stuff that, the zoning thing, which was really long and daunting, and the comprehensive plan, but I remember that Lisa wanted to keep it down to, like 6 pages, and it's 20 some pages. There's just no way we're going to be able to.
Implementation plan?
Yeah, the implementation plan.
Oh.
There's no way to get that all down. So
I also reviewed it, and I thought one way to do it was Bob Owens presented a lot of excellent examples, or things that could be appended to various parts of an initial document. So you wouldn't have to put it in one reading. You'd say, if you want to know more about this, go to page 12.
Yeah.
And instead of putting it all in one, because sometimes that you don't need all of his detail, and other people will.
That's kind of what I was. I was just saying, that's kind of what I was thinking is, because I mean, we've got here's the general way, then we got specific, which is a really long bunch, and then we've got Bob Owen's comments. So
Dean, I did share your comments with Laura. Any comments I received, Laura, I also shared with Laura. I will say this ballooned it, and I was the one who said from the get-go, I didn't want it to be any longer than 10 pages, and now that seems unrealistic. you know, maybe we could do it with the appendix or something.
Yeah.
But this whole thing just, I mean, to Kevin's point, we can't have a discussion with Kevin, but, you know, to Kevin's point earlier about where is this at? You know, we are an all volunteer committee, and this implementation plan, you know, Laura, first of all, Laura is our expert, a writer and expert writer in residence, you know, something like that. She is, I have been like insanely impressed with Laura's writing abilities. But this implementation plan has really ballooned. So, and the more, it's almost like we have to stop accepting other external points right now and just get it like
Right.
Laura said, down to
Right.
a movable document to go forward. And it's a big
Right.
job.
I mean, that's where it's at right now, is trying to put everything together in an organized format so that I don't overwhelm people who don't need all these details. So it's okay, this is reasonable. So that's what's happening with it right now. It's spread all out, and I'm trying to figure out the organizational structure to make it not too daunting like some of the other stuff we've run into.
I would just like to take the liberty on behalf of the committee, Laura, to say thank you for, you know, helping with this. What you got now is this big, massive thing. Like you said, you're trying to whittle down into a workable form, and no better person, but it is work. So thank you. Carmen, do you have something?
Yeah, and is there anything that the committee can do at this point, or resources that we might be able to recruit to expedite the process? Because this seems to be one of the higher leverage actions that we can take, is to get this sustainable purchasing policy implementation across the finish line. In theory, I can see this having all kinds of ripple effects if we do actually get it implemented.
Well, basically, I'm not really sure. I mean, it's one of those things where I just have to sit down and focus on it for like a week. I mean, it's going to take a while to get through that. And it's just at a point that more information is probably not necessarily better. And I guess someone just has to kind of start organizing and structuring it. The only thing that's holding me back is I got a new job, and now I have to prep a new class, and that just showed up. So now I'm like, okay, I got to teach in a couple of weeks. I got to get this job set up, and I got to get this implementation plan done, which is why I'm not volunteering for anything else on the committee.
Yep.
So it's just, I mean, if somebody wanted to look at it over the next few days, that's fine, but I don't know how much that's going to help. I'm just trying to, over the next 3 days when it's hot, finalize my syllabus, get that stuff done, get that out of the way, do the parade, and then get this implementation done, work on that before the semester starts. That's kind of my goal, is to try and get all that taken care of.
Okay. So okay, so it sounds like there's nothing that we can do. It's like it's in your hands and you have your schedule.
I wish there was. I
plan.
just don't think there is.
Yeah.
I think it's just combing through stuff now.
I agree. And I think I'm hearing Laura say, and I agree, that kind of less is more right now, you know, and maybe we just need to let her do her thing with it. Is that right, Laura?
Just trying, yeah, I think it's the point where I just need to get it done, and then let people look at it, and we can refine from there.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Kelly, do you want to talk? Is there any updates on the school district you want to talk about? Or is council? I don't know the council updates. We don't have the council person here this evening.
Yeah, I was hoping we could ask John about his ideas on how often he thinks it would be good for a committee member to speak, just during maybe the public comment section of the council meeting, which you can do virtually now at this point.
Okay.
About what the committee's working on, you know, any kind of pertinent things you want to say, ideas. So we'll talk to him next meeting. And then the school district update is that I met with Jared Rossing, and he's the assistant superintendent for operations. He took over Lori Ames' old spot, and she was in the position when she worked a lot with Daphne Wu on the resolution that was passed a couple years ago for the school district. And so we just talked about how we can work together and leverage each other's energy goals and how to align our goals and share resources information. He's planning to start back up the sustainability committee for the district. And he's going to, similarly to Lori Ames, it will be comprised of school district staff, department heads, and then also representatives from the green team, and then a representative from the city of Cross Plains and the city of Middleton, and maybe some community groups. And then we can talk, he wants to talk more about, I guess, action items to help with, see that resolution get off the ground in a more concrete way. And then also just sharing information about grants and things. There's so much coming down that the city and the school district may be able to help one another on, at least somewhat.
Fabulous. Okay,
That's all.
that's fabulous. Okay. I think we can move on to the next agenda item, the capital budget. So are there things with this, Kelly, you are looking for? I think I gave you email, but it was more just my opinion without knowing all the details. Are there specific items you are looking for more specific feedback on, or is this just general?
Well, this started out as an action item for the committee to motion or recommend to approve prioritized budget items. But we've already submitted, the deadline has passed to submit those. So I went ahead and submitted them based on the priorities that the planning department went through, and then also feedback from the committee members that did reach out. We moved some things around. What ended up in the planning budget request, it was for the top priority to be $150,000 for EV charging infrastructure funds in 2024, $150,000 for another batch of streetlight LED conversion labor and materials to complete the city-owned streetlight conversion by the end of 2024. And then a $100,000 pot of match dollars for grant funds that are coming from the Inflation Reduction Act and the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Those are the two big climate bills that came down from the federal government. There's loads of grants being rolled out on a monthly basis, and many of them have match requirements. And many times we only have 3 to 4 weeks to write the grant and come up with the match. So a lot of us in the county and across the state are seeing a need to have match funds available so that we don't miss out on some of these bigger grants that are coming. And Lisa Hanairo, Alder Hanairo from District 6, I had put in a lesser amount for the match dollars, and she saw this and asked for it to be increased by 50,000. She's on the Plan Commission, and they saw this prioritization in Plan Commission last month already. So the Plan Commission ended up commenting on the prioritization. One thing to note is that the Planning Committee or the Planning Department and Plan Commission put the sustainability items first on the list. I think there was one historical marker smaller budget item that they mixed into those, but they definitely put them at the top of things they want to see funded next year. So that just shows how committed this particular council seems to be on sustainability initiatives, which is really great. And we really need to know that and capitalize on that over the next year or two. And then the ARPA funding, which is from the American Recovery Plan Act, that ends in 2024, but there is a pot of money that hasn't been approved yet for 2024. And within that pot of unapproved money is an item for the continuation of the Energy Efficiency Navigator project. So that is still in there for approval for next year. And that comes from ARPA funds, not from city capital budget funds. And then there was a biodiesel pilot amount of money that that is going to be submitted as a budget request through the Public Works Committee. Brad collected the information for that and is finalizing the numbers of what it would actually cost to run a pilot biodiesel conversion project with the heavy duty fleet vehicles. It would be 5 vehicles to start, to transition them to using biodiesel fuel, which would save a lot of carbon emissions. But there's still some question on how the trucks would be fueled. So that dollar item, I haven't checked in the last week or two if those numbers were finalized. So those are our asks for 2024. And that's, just to clarify, those are all separate from your $10,000 sustainability committee operating budget. These are the capital budget items and ARPA. Looks like Deb has a question.
Oh, Deb, I'm sorry.
The $150,000 for EV charging stations, how many stations does that cover?
I'm not sure yet. That number is not firm either, because Raymaker is doing that analysis for how much building upgrades will cost and what type of chargers go where. And so hopefully in the next month or two, we'll have that dollar amount more finalized and know what we can get. But we wanted to put some chunk of money in for the next year so that it's there, and then we'll have that much to spend. But I don't know how much the chargers are going to cost.
Kermit.
So at this point, what sustainability committee action can we take to help support or reinforce the desirability of these capital expenditures? Is this a time where, is there still a point for having a motion to express that we fully endorse or encourage these expenditures, or do we wait until the budget gets further along and provide some public comment to the council? What's your thinking at this point? Because you've already submitted it, right?
Yeah, my thinking is that we haven't had our meeting with Bill yet, and I think it would be helpful. It wouldn't hurt to have a recommendation for approval of these items from the sustainability committee as endorsement, so that I can say that in the budget meetings. And when I speak to finance and they ask me, what's the committee think about these items? I can say on this date, they recommended to approve these. It gives me the answer to some questions that council and finance, especially may ask. And then secondly, it will be helpful for members of the public who support this and for committee members, I think, to speak in favor of this at, council meeting public comment times, or you could just even send an email of support to your alder in your district. That would be helpful too. I think just hearing that these are priorities for citizens is especially powerful.
So then we could conceivably make a motion to support or endorse and approve the budget capital expenditure items as summarized in the budget narratives for the capital budget 2024 in the staff report, and see if we want to approve that, or like if I were to make a motion, that's what I'd propose. If you got that.
I'll second it.
Second it, yeah.
Okay, do we all in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Any nays? I don't see any. Okay.
Did Lathrop second that?
I think Dean and Lathrop both. It was a close call.
Who's
I don't know.
second?
I'll let Dean get the credit.
Oh, thank you so much.
Ever so generous, Dick. Thank you.
Yeah.
We got to engage our new members and let them feel like that they're empowered.
Exactly.
Okay, you still need to vote, I think, or did I miss that?
And I'm sorry, what about the vote?
It was
you
eight,
vote?
it was 8-0. 8-0.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
Unanimous.
unanimous,
Okay.
unanimous. There's
Okay.
no nays.
Would it be more helpful if we also supported a funding amount that you would ask for through the ARPA to continue the Energy Efficiency Navigator project?
Oh, yeah, I did. There's 150,000 in the earmarked for it already, but council would have to approve it.
Oh, okay.
So the number
Okay.
is already in there. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks.
And so Kelly, when would the council meetings happen where public comments would be timely to support this going forward?
That's going to be in September, but let me get the calendar. There is a calendar for this, and I'll send that out. I have a number of things in my notes that I need to send you as follow-up from
Okay.
this meeting. So that'll be one thing I'll make a note of.
Okay, thank you. And of course, we can write emails whenever we want, but the public comments can also carry some weight.
Thank you.
Okay.
So that's great. I think, anything else you think would be helpful in this agenda item, Kelly?
No, I don't think right now. There's a lot of good stuff in the budget request. I feel like, like there's the sustainability stuff we put forward in planning, but a lot of the other planning items are very sustainability related too, even though they're not listed here in my staff report. I think, I know it's a lot to ask of volunteers, but of all times, throughout the year to be engaged, the budget season is probably one of the most important, to just know what's being proposed in the city, what projects are coming forward, because there's going to be other things you see in the budget request that you're going to be interested in that relate to sustainability that you'll know early on if you look at those budget requests what's coming down the pike next year for the city. So as those packets are released, it might be a good month in September and early October to come to a council meeting and just listen, or come to a finance committee meeting is actually the better meeting to go to. That's where they really deliberate a lot.
And does finance committee take public comments currently?
They don't. Nope. But
Okay.
yeah,
But
they
you can
deliberate. They talk about it in council as well, but you'll hear some of the background thoughts formulate in finance. And it's interesting if you can stomach 2 meetings, it's quite interesting to hear how that develops.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you email the finance committee?
You can, yeah, you can definitely. They're made up of several alders.
Okay.
And Lisa is no longer on the finance committee? She's on
She's still
planning
the
now?
chair. She's still the chair.
Oh,
of the-
she's still there. Okay, I'm sorry. I heard you mention planning, so I thought maybe she had been reassigned, but she has both?
Yeah, she's on plan commission and
Cool.
finance, and is it public works as well?
Public Works.
So,
Okay. Well, thank you, Kelly. That's fabulous. Thank you for the good work you do to help us all help you. It's really great.
indeed.
Yeah. Okay. So standing agenda items for next or agenda items for next meeting. We already have some planned ones. Anything else anybody can think of now? Otherwise you can email as well or talk to us.
I think we will have a full meeting just with those
I know.
3 agendas and
I
the
agree.
subgroup report back, but yes.
I know, I agree. And
Sometimes there are things that have to be dealt with regardless of.
I know, and maybe we can actually end a few minutes early tonight, which would be great. It'd be giving you credit for couple of meetings where we went over the last couple.
Yeah.
Oh, Dick. Don't take us over now, Dick.
Kelly, we didn't discuss it tonight, but we should probably figure out how we're gonna phase in our light bulb exchange thing. I didn't see that specifically mentioned in your committee report. But are we in a position where we can make some actions on our light bulb exchange and low income housing?
Yeah, I think we are. I think now would be a good time. What would be really helpful is to meet with Elevates, because they're the ones scheduling all the getting into the buildings. They're going to all the buildings over the next 2 or 3 months. There's 7 buildings as part of the energy efficiency program that they're working in, and then there's another building that another project is working on that's separate but similar. So there's at least 8 buildings that we could be working in. And I talked about it in one of the recent meetings for the Lakeview project. And they were excited to hear that there's light bulbs, because that's something that had been in their budget to do anyway.
Okay.
They were scrambling to try to find the bulbs and that kind of thing.
So they had plans, but not money for it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge substantial amount for one building. It's a very big project, but it's something that they hadn't worked out yet. They hadn't, figured out the logistics for it. And I was like, well, this is great, because we have a committee who has, the bulbs. They've done this before. We can get this done from the city side, and they were happy about that.
Maybe I suggest that you arrange some meeting later in September between Deb, myself, and you, Christy, if you want to go to. Anybody else, of course, is welcome, but Deb and I, of course, have been the main people pushing it or, promoting it. So we'd like to at least do something with these light bulbs. And if you're at a point where a meeting with Elevate would help, after the first week of September, or first or second, anytime in September, probably I'd be available. I don't know about Deb's schedule, but I'd like to meet and figure this out.
Okay.
I'll skip that just because I'm working on these other plans. These other subcommittees. So thank you. Okay, let's try and end early. Couple minutes, at least a couple minutes. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We have second. Deb, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great night, great week.
Yeah, thank you.
Good work, everybody.
Yeah, yep.
Thank
See
you.
see you at the parade.
Yes,
Yeah.
Monday, next Sunday.